had, and a lot of it is telepathic contact. Bella has had, it's very interesting. Her and I are kind of like connected all the time. I kind of always have the ability to go in and ask her a question or to see something from her perspective. And her ship, as she says, is a biological entity that is created from different aspects of plasma and silicone and different substances that I'm still kind of downloading myself. Like I said, there comes to a certain point where I'm like, whoa, like that's enough. Like, okay, cool, thanks for the download, but I have to like get up and go to work at my normal human restaurant job today. Like, thanks, like that's enough for me.
Wonderful. Hello, Geeta. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you, Geeta, and welcome to C5 Academy. It is such a pleasure to have you here with us, and I'm so excited for our next chat and the next hour or half an hour that we'll spend together. And for those that don't know Geeta, welcome to C5 Academy. Myself and Geeta have been friends for the last couple of months, and I really, really enjoy her work. I really appreciate the messages that she brings through and the content that she creates on a YouTube channel. I'll definitely put a link in the description to her YouTube channel, so be sure to check it out. And basically, Geeta channels for extraterrestrial entities, as well as a hybrid being that we call Bella and Is.a.bell. I'm sure she will speak a little bit more about that. But this is a very, very exciting interview, because if you go to our channel, you will see that our latest video is about alien communication. And the one theory that I suggested in the video is about channeling as being one tool that extraterrestrials are currently using to make contact with us and to send through information that would be a little bit more refined than radio waves or certain technologies that we think they would use to communicate with us. So, Geeta, welcome. Thank you so much, and I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, would you mind sharing with us your own definition and perspective on channeling and what channeling is for you?
Sure. So, channeling is a natural state that all humans do, that all beings do. Anytime that we're in our excitement, in our flow, whether it be creating art or a scientist that is creating its, next discovery, whatever it may be, it's a flow state that we are in. The vocal channeling state, as I define it, as I look at it, it almost seems like the next level of this altered state, the next level of being in this flow state. And what's really happening is the frequency being sent by the beings or sent by the higher self, whatever it is that someone is vocally channeling to, is like two tuning forks coming together, being able to adjust our frequencies so that there is a balance and a merging. And then really from there, it becomes like an actor in a show playing a role, but the script is being sent telepathically.
Beautiful.
And there is something too to be said with different forms of channeling, right? Whether it be a painter or a musician or a sports star, they're also taking into an aspect of their ultimate being that is already in existence in the all that is, right? Somewhere. Yeah. So even these different forms of channeling, it really then is like two tuning forks coming together, where the athlete in are now is attuning himself to his ultimate vibration to make a match with the athlete in existence and somewhere in the all that is his ultimate vibration. And then a link is created, and then this new kind of third entity can come through. And even though, like I said, the altered state, the vocal channeling, I do think is a slightly like next stage of being in this state. It's really how all forms of channeling and all forms of flow and expression and ultimate performance maybe are being executed. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm sure that you also have heard before Bashar say that it's important to focus on the message and not necessarily the messenger. And I know that a lot of people, especially individuals that have never looked into channeling at first, maybe, whoa, what is going on here and what is that? So really, if that is you watching and you have never heard of channeling or seen channeling before, I highly recommend that you just pay attention to the message and see if it resonates. And again, just like we mentioned in the video before, take what works and discard the rest without invalidating it. So Geeta, thank you so much. How long have you been a channel for, if I may ask?
Well,
a vocal channel.
I've been a vocal channel.
A vocal channel.
A vocal channel, an aware vocal channel, I'll say, for about 8 years now.
Wow.
The link started, I had a spontaneous vocal channeling. I didn't even know what vocal channeling was. There was a friend of mine that was there to hold space. And when I came out of the altered state, she was like, wow, that was crazy. Have you ever heard of Bashar? You should look at Bashar, channeled by Daryl Enka. It's like, okay. And yeah, so that was 8 years ago in around 2010. Wow. Yeah.
Amazing. And may I ask, how has the journey been so far? What has been your kind of highlights of the journey of making contact with extraterrestrials in this way? Which is a very exciting prospect.
It is, yeah, very exciting and also very activating. And very honestly, there were some bumps in the road and some times where I felt as though I was technically losing my mind in the way I kind of was, or going insane, going back into my sanity, and redefining what crazy is in a way. And I had the opportunity to meet Daryl Enka and for him to recognize me in a way, and he extended his friendship to me. And so I had him to be able to call in these moments, in these times that were really intense. And I think a part of him knew that I might be going through some denser emotion and would need a touchstone in this way. But even with that, it has been intense. There have been moments where oscillating back and forth from, is this really real? Is this part of my imagination? Are these beings real? Does that even matter? Because I'm applying their principles. I'm starting to more and more see things from their perspective. Does it really matter? But recently, it's been really expanding and a lot more fun for me as I finally because I think there's a time where kind of like in the hero's journey, right? The hero accepting the call, and I was oscillating back and forth from accepting the call for many years. And then recently it's, I've gone and crossed the threshold and entered the phase of no return. And it's a lot more fun and getting more detailed, specific information about who she is and what her personality really is, that then allows me to play her more, like I said, like the actor in the show, to really allow that perspective to come through. And I, again, go through moments more so of it being like, well, okay, like I may be serving as a biological telephone for extraterrestrials. This is actually how contact is happening. But also, like, does that thought really serve me? Sometimes it's a little overwhelming. Sometimes it's a little,
I can understand, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little too much. And so I don't necessarily focus on that, but I allow it to the energy to come through. But recently I have been really grounding and allowing myself to be like, okay, this is my Jodie Foster moment in contact. This is my like Amy Adams moment in Arrival, and this may potentially very well be the story that I am living in, that this is how this specific lineage of extraterrestrials are making contact with us. Yeah. So I oscillate back and forth, honestly, and it's all part of the process and part of the flow, and my higher self guides me, and I'm guided by Bella to know what I need to integrate and focus on when it's relevant for me to do so. Yeah. But it's been a lot more fun, and connecting with people and sharing perspectives and really allowing their message and their perspective to become part of how I truly navigate my own reality.
That's so wonderful to hear. That's really amazing. I'm sure viewers that are listening to this are really asking themselves if you could speak to us a little bit more about Bella and who she is and your experience and relationship with her, which is very beautiful from my experience already.
I would just like to state a little bit for those that maybe not be familiar with their message and their perspective and what they bring through. So I'd like to just share a little bit of how they view reality and how they view existence.
Wonderful.
That it really is as simple as everything that we've been told in a way, kind of through these different new age ideas that like you create your reality. Well, like it literally is that. From their perspective, this truly, truly, truly is like you and I are wearing black shirts. Like this is how it works. That there is no external physical reality. That we truly are creating and aligning with our most preferred version of reality based upon our frequency, which is created by our actions that we take, which are created by the thoughts that we have, which are created by the feelings that we are experiencing, which stem from any beliefs or stories that we may be running within ourselves. And by shedding light on our negative beliefs, by sifting through our negative beliefs, that is how we then adjust our emotions. That is how then we begin to think different thoughts. That's how then we take different actions, and then how we create and align with different versions of the external reality that we are creating. That this truly is a dream that we are creating all together in this now.
Beautiful.
And
thank you.
Yeah,
wow.
Really simple. But us, we're like, wait, no, like that's what's the
can't be that simple.
No, this is it. And yeah, the message that they've been bringing through for the past 35 years through Daryl Lenka, the driver's manual, the toolkit, right? Like how do we actually then, once we understand these principles, how do we then actually navigate our reality? And it's the same thing that most of our spiritual teachers have been saying for eons, to follow our bliss. Follow our heart. In each and every moment, though, to really slow down our receptive ability from the higher self, right? The imagination, the inspiration, the intuition, to act on out of all of the ideas that are available to us in each and every moment, the idea, the action that truly does feel the most exciting, that is the most attractive, that, you know, gets us buzzing the most. And to do that to the best of our ability, with integrity, and then here's the kicker, without any insistence on where it needs to go. To be in the awareness, in the surrendering of the higher self, that the higher self knows more than we know. Absolutely. We don't actually know. We're just the character in the show. But the actor, the higher self, knows. And we like to be surprised. And releasing the insistence then really allows the path of least resistance to navigate smoothly into realities that are actually beyond our wildest imagination. So thanks for allowing me to phrase that, because once that's really, really understood, right? Once we fully know that to be how reality is functioning, that changes the entire game. There's very little questions then that we need to ask these other entities, right? Once we really get that, any answer can link back to that,
always,
you know, that concept. And a lot of what Bashar says, and a lot of what Bella brings through as well, is taking it always back to these principal foundations. This is it. This is it. And we're in the process of having these concepts and really grounding them into, like I said, inner standings, to these knowings.
I love that you said that. That's a new word for me. That's amazing. Sorry to cut you. That's awesome.
But understanding, because I don't know, I like the inner standing. It's kind of fun. Yeah. And that's what we're in the process of doing, because we really do like to overcomplicate things.
Yeah. That's true.
And yeah, so just a bit of that. So thank you for allowing that. But yeah, so Bella, that also, I'll just say too, is just like a title of her frequency. They don't necessarily have names, but that is an expression of her signature frequency. She rings like a bell, and she also enjoys playing with, as they all do, language and puns in this way. And so she first came through as Is.a.bell, but then she became very clear with me that it was Is.a.bell, that she is a bell, that we all are Is.a.bells, that we all are our unique instruments in the greater orchestra that makes up the all that is. And without one member of the orchestra, it's not the orchestra. So we are all Is.a.bells. And she is a descendant from what we would understand as the gray human hybrid program. I'll try to be as brief as I can with all of this because it's a very kind of lengthy mythology in a way for people that have never heard of this before. But I do think it is relevant because ultimately it winds us back to a morality tale. It can be this sci nonfiction story, but also then can be applied just as a story and looked at as a morality tale. So in a separate timeline of humanity, they de-evolved. There was a heavy reliance on technology, a severing of the emotional body that then resulted in the planet no longer being livable, no longer being able to naturally procreate. Different levels of genetic programming, of cloning were put into place. And then the body that we now most classically recognize as an alien, as the ET, as the little spindly, skinny gray with the big eyes, was created, and these human souls took incarnation into these bodies. Bella has started to make differentiations that there are many different types of grays. There are many different types of souls, many different types of intentions that come from the greater multiverse that utilize these prototype bodies. But the ones that are most important for those of us interacting with these lineage, and the ones that she comes from are the ones that are this human version of the gray. There's many, right? Want to expand our imaginations, expanding our awareness. There's many different programs, anything that we can imagine exists, right?
Yes.
So as it's come through Bashar and Daryl Enka, we are calling these very specific grays the Maz-A. The Maz-A had the ability to, as we would understand it, tunnel back into their timeline to interact with different aspects of their souls, their family, their oversouls, and it was agreed upon by certain levels of us to have these detainments or these program interactions with the grays, with the Maz-A, to create new races, and then also to activate our DNA. So we would then create a very, very different, more organic timeline. There were a few races that were created from this Maz-A human genetic program. Bashar is from the race that we are calling the Sasani or Shikani. And Bella is from the Yahyel. The Yahyel are a little bit closer to us genetically. And Bella specifically is more so from our timeline. She is in what's been explained to me like our actual timeline. Some of these beings come from what we would perceive as the future. Some of them even come from what we would perceive as our past. But Bella has said that it's very much in our future. So just to wind back a little bit to the story, right? How it can actually be used as a morality tale, regardless of what is actually serving to any individual in regards to this like larger, sci nonfiction story, this like science crazy epic tale, right? Basically, it points to the importance of the emotional body. The importance of grounding back into our nature, into the nature that is us and the nature that is our planet, finding the needed balance with technology and with intuition, perhaps, right? And at the end of the day, that's what we're pointing at. That's what it's all about, is to allow the activation of the heart-centered knowingness and the importance of the emotional body, because the emotional body is the alarm bell that rings our awareness for any beliefs that may be out of alignment. so then we can actually continue to navigate ourselves through the reality that we are creating. And if we don't have the connection to the emotional body, we can't really use the car manual, can we?
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why ultimately it doesn't matter, again, right? If you believe that this is an aspect of our higher selves, or if you really believe that this is differentiated beings making very true contact, doesn't matter, because it's still a great story that clues us in on the morality tale of it.
Very true.
Yeah, so
Beautiful.
Bella is a member of the Is.a.bell, and she is a captain. She has her own ship that she's very much in charge of, and she is a member of what is being called the First Contact Specialist Guild. Also, she cuts it down to just being a contact specialist, because we're kind of moving into a little bit more so of a second phase in a way.
Yeah.
And she likes to have Bashar still keep his title of the First Contact Specialist, because that's kind of what he does. She is a contact specialist.
Beautiful.
And her ship, as she says, is a biological entity that is created from different aspects of plasma and silicone and different substances that I'm still kind of downloading myself. Like I said, there comes to a certain point where I'm like, whoa, like that's enough. Like, okay, cool, thanks for the download, but I have to like get up and go to work at my normal human restaurant job today. Like, thanks, like that's enough for me. And it does operate a little bit like a TARDIS. It is much bigger on the inside. But it also has the ability to morph and change its shape to look like a metal craft, or to look like an orb, or to look like a pirate ship made out of clouds. Like, it has the ability to really morph itself.
Wow.
For the needs of the Is.a.bell, or the needs of the hybrid children, which are one of the races that have been created from this Maze human program. There is children, once again, that are more so directly in our timeline, and that are the closest genetically related to us. They look the most like us. They are the most vibrationally compatible for us in a way. And so the ship that she is on, the ship that is her ship, which she calls the Karen, because the Karen takes care of them all when they are in the Karen.
Beautiful.
Has most of the children aboard her ship.
Oh, wow.
And her ship is a hub where there are many comings and goings from many different civilizations within this greater hybrid lineage, and different contact specialists can come and go from her ship as well. Her ship is above Maui, specifically Haleakala, which is the heart chakra of the planet.
Wow.
Yeah, and and as it's been explained through Bashar, the Yahyel and the children, the Shalanaya, will most likely be the ones that will make first physical contact with our civilization. There's many different other races that are connected to us genetically, and there's many other different potential timelines of how we actually manifest physical first contact. Okay. But as it's come through Bashar, and as it's been explained to me, we are still in the most likely probable timeline of the Is.a.bell being the ones that we actually make what we more so classically define as like physical contact with. And she's a representative of that race and a representative of that most preferred timeline.
That is so wonderful, Geeta, and thank you for being a representative of the human race. Thank you so much. As a biological telephone, that is beautiful. Thank you for ending on the idea of making first contact with the Is.a.bell. I've also obviously been hearing that from Bashar, and it's something that's very, very exciting. And I would love to hear your perspective on, from now till the day whenever that will be that we make first contact, how do you foresee the procedures or humanity evolving towards first contact, and what would you believe would be the key points that we would need to, or the changes that we would need to make inside so that first contact can manifest for us?
Well, first, if it really is exciting to individuals that are receiving this information to, in a sense, choose to believe the stories the mythology, everything that I just explained about who, what, when, where, why, how Bashar and Bellis say that they are.
Yeah.
I would say the first step is to allow yourself to really be in the receptive capacity when listening to these channelings, that you are in the action of having contact. It is coming through the biological telephone. It is coming through in a way where it's almost a third entity being created.
Yeah.
But they are very much connected to their channels, to the biological telephone in there now. They are trained to do this. They are, in a sense, lowering their vibration to relay the information. They are in a state of rest or a state of repose, as they say, and it's very much in our now, as we would understand it, a link-to-link contact. So then what is coming through the channel is very much contact.
Wow.
And it is what we are capable of in this now, right? It is the percentage that we are capable of receiving. And so by really being in the now, being in the moment, and feeling any emotional sensations, right, again, that come up within us, to then use those emotions as the trigger, the alarm bell, to look at the beliefs that are no longer serving us about having actual contact in the physical, right?
Sure.
So really being in the now with this contact that we are having in regards to the channeling coming through, because it's what we are ready for. If we were ready for a different form of contact, a different form of contact would be happening. But obviously this is what we are capable of, and it's wanting to happen in steps and stages, because it really would be extremely overwhelming to our systems, to our mind.
Yeah.
Because a big part of the maze and the grays, right, is it is an aspect of our denial. It's an aspect of the gap. It's an aspect of the shadow that completely fell into this other timeline.
Yeah.
And we have agreed as humans, those of us that have agreed to partake in these programs, to actually have a mirror interaction with fractions of our denied essence. Like, no big deal, right? But like the biggest deal in a way, right? From perspective, and a really courageous hero's journey in that way. And so these hybrid lineage ambassadors still hold percentages of that mirror of the shadow within them. And what is really happening in any type of contact is then the ability to reflect ourselves back to ourselves. But it could cause breaks in our psyche that would be extremely negative for us. And so we are all together, working together to make sure that we do this as seamlessly as possible. So by really feeling into, if you're really wanting to, believe that this is the story, right, that is true for you, to really feel into those emotions and to see what comes up within you in regards to things that have yet to be defined or redefined within you. And then from there, what is really exciting is then we start to member or remember what we would define as our past. So then by attuning our frequencies in the now, we then align with a different version of what we would understand as the past. We then have different memories, in a sense, that could always feel like the memories that, have always been a part of us, but really it's not. It's coming from this new version of us that now has a new awareness with its own hero's journey. And as we really begin to ground into and align and understand that we are in the act of having contact with these beings, we then attune our frequencies and align with different versions of us that have slightly different pasts, as we would define it, that have memories and awareness of contact that we have already had. So by grounding into the contact that we are really receiving in this now, we can then attune to the contact that is most relevant for us to member in this now, that is what we perceive as the past. And then that aligns us and pushes us into a trajectory of what we would define as the future, to have more what we would define as classic contact. But by us redefining how we're looking at it in this now, it then changes both polarization of what we define as the past and future. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I can definitely totally relate to that, in the sense that I had okay. It's very weird. You see, I feel like I'm also have been experiencing what you described, because I have memories that I can't attune or assert in any particular timeline, but I just have them. And it's not like it's a memory of me going to the shop and getting an ice cream and coming back home. It's a very profound and vivid memory of me having full-on physical contact. So it's very interesting that you said that.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
it's a big part of what their consciousness is able to do, their perspective is able to do for those of us that really apply their perspectives and apply the formula. It begins to actually rewire our brains and to actually change how we are experiencing time and space. And we can have the experience of remembering our futures or creating our pasts in the now. And that's also a big part, like I was saying, of being in the now, right? And allowing yourself to be in the receptive ability of feeling the energies of the beings coming through the channeling and be like, wow, we're having contact now. That then can activate the contact that we have with the other versions of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Can activate your own ambassador that maybe is, a simultaneous incarnation of you, or a version of your future that's like, hey, I'm like ready to talk to you, or a version of your past that has awareness from the child, right? It can activate all of these different forms of contact that each individual can channel in his or her own way, depending on what really is best for them and their journey and their activation again. So we can really go through this in the seamless way possible, most seamless way possible. Again, so it doesn't activate the, extremely negative, intense versions of these denser emotions, that we can go through these denser emotions and find the beliefs, you understand, in really positive, fun ways. But, the contact is designed in that way. The frequency that they bring through is designed to activate our brains to be able to tap into the representatives that really are most relevant for each individual.
Yes, that's really powerful and amazing. It really blows my mind as you speak, because I'm constantly relating it to my own experiences, and I'm like, yes. Even let's say last Tuesday, I was outside on my porch, and I was just having a meditation, and I was really doing exactly what you've been describing, meaning looking at different situations in my life and feeling the emotion, really being present with the emotion and transmuting the emotion by looking at the negative belief system and redefining it in a positive way, and then experiencing the emotion of the positive change that I've created. And through that, I was just really feeling in the moment. I was kind of, could say, in an ecstatic mood of ecstatic just excitement. I was just feeling really good. There was a lot of, the butterflies in the stomach, and just feel like you're on top of the world. And in that moment, there's a ship that just literally came in front of me and just started flashing. Obviously, it was nighttime, so it was a light that was flashing, which we call pulsar. And in that moment, what I did, as opposed to what I used to do when I have similar types of contacts, is I really tuned into the moment and I felt into it. And instead of me asking for a flash or a confirmation, I just relaxed the loud mind, and I just really came back in gratitude and thanked them. And as I did that, I could literally see from moment to moment how that the flashes were getting brighter and brighter as I tuned into myself more and more. Then the light disappeared, and in the space of 3 minutes after that, it came back twice. Once on the horizon there, and once right above my head in the space of a minute. And as I was really continuing in that emotion vibration, and I really relate to the fact that as we tune more into the now, and we tune into our feelings, and we really let go of those things that no longer serve us, the higher we go, the lighter we become, and the closer to contact we can get, because that's where they vibrate, I'm guessing. So really, that's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. That's a great story.
Pleasure. So,
yeah,
that's how it works. That's so true. And I think that you've really covered most of the basic principles that they bring through, in terms of following your excitement and the whole complete manual, as well as the ability to understand the mechanism of our personality structure, so that we can better handle and transmute the negative belief systems that we have. And for those that have never really listened to Bashar or have listened to Bashar, you will find that from my understanding, 80 to 90% of the people that come to the mic and ask questions, the questions are totally different. However, the answers will always come back to the basic principles, which is really beautiful, because it's like he's drilling it into us, or they're drilling it into us, so that we really can take on that new frequency and that new understanding of how reality works.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've gotten recently a little bit of the inverse of it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
can you hear me?
Yes. So where we cut off was when you just started saying on the inverse.
Yeah. So I got a little download of my own kind of teachings, or my own inspiration from Bella. It was like, hey, try this. In the moments that we are feeling really beautiful feelings that we really do resonate with, to ask ourselves the same question: what would I need to be believing is true in order to feel these positive feelings? And it was really challenging, almost in a way, for me to be like, oh, whoa, like, okay, well, I would need to be believing that I'm an aspect of source. I would need to be believing that I am always creating my reality. I would need to be believing perhaps that what these beings say about themselves is actually true. Like, it opened up this whole other doorway of being able to define and find things that I do resonate with. And it was a fun permission slip that I was given. So I gift that to you as well. And it was honestly, from my perspective, almost more challenging to find the positive things I must be believing are true.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll definitely play around with that. That's very exciting. And that again brings me to the idea, or the understanding of the middle path by, I think it's a Buddhist understanding, that when you feel sad, you regulate to neutrality. And when you feel extreme joy, you aim to also regulate to neutrality. And yeah, so it's important to be able to be aware of the negative belief systems as well as the positive ones.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. May I ask you another question briefly about your own contact experiences? Have you had contact with Bella, but have you also maybe had contact with other cultures out there in that sense?
I'm sure I have, but that it just necessarily hasn't been relevant for me and the journey that I'm on. A few years ago now, I did see a craft. It was a nighttime sighting. I was coming home after a long day of work. I was very tired. I was in a residential neighborhood. I saw a triangular shaped craft go over the house, across the street, and behind the trees. And I was very tired. And I looked up and I was like, oh, wow, that's a ship. That looks like exactly what you would imagine it to look like. That looks like I'm watching a movie. Wow. I know exactly who that is. I know that's Galactic Federation or the Alliance or like the Contact Guild, whatever we want. Yep, that's probably one of their. Okay, cool. And I was in one of these moments too, again, where I was like oscillating in and out of the importance of their story and just applying the concepts and being very grounded. And I was very much in an earth phase in a way, hanging out in nature a lot, doing a lot of yoga, playing music, and like not necessarily like giving any credence to this whole sci-fi story, right? Or this non-fi story. And I was super blasé. I was like, cool, thanks, dudes, like whatever. And I had the realization that it was going behind the tree line and that I could like run after it to like see, right? To like see it again, run up the hill a little bit. And I was like, no, I know what I saw. I'm super tired. Like, I'm going to bed. And I go inside and put all my things away, and I'm brushing my teeth and like washing my face in the mirror. And I stopped and I was like, dude, your reaction was hilarious. Like, it was kind of what we were hoping for in a way. Like, you didn't even blink, but like, remember that you saw that. Remember that this moment actually happened.
That was kind of a, sorry to cut you, but a kind of a thug life moment. It's a spacecraft.
Yeah, like whatever. Like, yeah,
pretty, that's beautiful.
Pretty
that's
funny.
Awesome.
But in a way, like I think it, you know, I know that it was very much them. It wasn't Bella's ship. I don't think it was Bashar either. I just feel like it was a member of the greater crew. Like there's a lot of characters, you know, in this great show. And I think, you know, it was my higher self in concert with them. And my higher self knew the state that the character was in and was like, bing, 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 like this is the perfect time to see how this being's going to react. And then Bella has had, it's very interesting. Her and I are kind of like connected all the time. I kind of always have the ability to go in and ask her a question or to see something from her perspective. And then there is the sensation of like the Iron Curtain dropping in a way where it's like, nope, like you don't need that right now. Work with the formula, work with the perspective. That's all you need. She has had, and a lot of it is telepathic contact. I have had a couple of dream interactions with her. One very vivid, very clear dream interaction where she showed me the ship, and she showed me why she is costuming herself the way that she is, why she is interested in relaying a bit more of kind of historical, kind of fanciful, maybe a little bit more magical archetype rather than this kind of sci-fi stuff. She gave me like a glimpse into her closet in a way. She has a lot of clothes from our history, like physical things that she's been able to reclaim. Yeah. And with different aspects of their technology, she's able to like multi-purpose it in a way. But yeah, she showed me a bit of the ship. I got to meet a bit of the kids. And then that was it for that experience. I have had experiences throughout the years too with Bashar and Daralenka in the dream space and different teachings and different understandings, and then aspects of my higher self and knowing when it's relevant for me to define it as my higher self talking to me, knowing when it's relevant to define it as one of these differentiated characters. That's happened on and off for like the past 8 years. Then recently I had some kind of intense contact that I talk about in my first conscious encounter with a gray on my YouTube channel, and my encounter with dark entities. These were two very different experiences that I go into length at in the video. But then after I had had these experiences, I was going asleep one night and I was a little scared. I'll be honest. Like I was a little like, oh, like what's gonna happen tonight? You know, to go to sleep. And I felt someone sit down on my bed, and I could feel like not just the weight of the body, because the body itself was quite light, but I could feel the weight of the skirts. And I knew it was Bella because I could feel the costume, and it was almost, I could feel the, like I could, it was almost like a heavy wool, but a little bit softer. Like I said, they have the ability to like infuse their technology even into the fabric, so it can morph and do all these kind of cool things. And so I felt that, and I opened my eyes. And it was dark. I do have like salt lamps in my house, and I opened my eyes, and it was almost like I could see like her silhouette, but almost like heat waves on a blacktop. And it was a little like a little too intense. And she sent to me, she told me, just close your eyes. So just close your eyes, just feel it. Like don't worry about it. And so then I just closed my eyes, and I continued to like feel her on the bed, and I had my hands kind of, you know, palms face up. And then I felt a very delicate, very feminine, very lovely hand go into my hand. But the hand had a glove on. The hand had a lace glove. And so there was a very tactile, very sensory experience. We know what lace feels like, right? Like lace is like that almost kind of stiffness, you know, it has like a very specific feeling to it. And that in the hand, was extremely recognizable, was extremely physical, but also extremely kind, because I understood in that moment there would be something almost too intense with our skin to skin actually touching, or her kind of breaking through the density in this way would almost be too much for me to feel the skin. And so the feeling of the lace was very delicate in this way for me not to get too activated. Yeah, so that was the most recent and most kind of very physical experience that I had with her.
Thank you for your reflection. That is definitely confirming a lot of our beliefs that we are moving towards physical contact. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I really appreciated what you spoke of early on when you said that Bella's ship has the ability to morph into different objects at any particular time. And it's funny because it's quite synchronistic, as I saw a comment on Facebook early on of a lady that said that she believes that ET crafts always take the shape that is best for the observer that is observing them in the moment. And it's funny that you said that, and I would really love it if you could speak a little bit more on it and your perspective of that aspect of reality.
So, as I understand it, the Karen is its own biological entity. It's a little bit less AI than maybe Bashar's ship. It does have some AI or some non-biological intelligence, right, as we're beginning to redefine it. It is more so grown from their realm. And their realm is an overlay, as I understand it, with our realm. So they're able to connect to different aspects of Gaia's frequency and really resonate more so squarely within the bridge of fourth density of this actual dream world. And they are creating their world honest and truly with our collective imagination, with our collective agreements, and also then with the agreement of Gaia herself coming more so from this fourth density. And so the ship has been grown from these fourth density levels, and as I said, what I understand so far is that it's plasma and silicone, along with some other aspects of it, and breathes electromagnetheric energy in a way, and it in its original form, I'll say, looks like an egg, and it is extremely malleable and has the ability to be like a scout pod, and has the ability to simultaneously be like the mothership, and then also for Bella to like take a piece of it out on a scout pod, and it can manifest itself just as this little egg. And it's very it's really beautiful. It's very iridescent. It's very malleable. I actually had an experience where I got to be in one of these in a dream years and years ago now I'm like, oh, well, that's what they were showing me. And again, it almost kind of looks like maybe what we would envision like a silicone implant, honestly. And I've never felt one, but you know what we would imagine it would feel like, kind of that kind of gooey, kind of very flexible, malleable. And yeah, it has the ability, as I understand it, to take the form of whatever is most relevant. She is telling me that usually it does take the form of, and kind of what they are operating on for their purposes is the form of that V-shaped craft, which is huge. Like it is a full-on city, and this is where honestly where I'm like, oh my God, this is intense for me. Like, you are so badass, Bella. Like, is this the story? I don't care. Like, how does this actually serve me in my day-to-day life? But she says that she's the captain of this like huge enterprise. Like, she's the female captain of like the Is.a.bell enterprise.
That's incredible. Do you think it would be the same ship that maybe came over Phoenix, Arizona in 1997?
Again, this is where I get freaking freaked out. Like, I'll be totally honest. That's what she says.
That's amazing, because that
That's
story is truly
amazing.
incredible. I remember one of the witnesses saying that he was standing in his garden, just the one wing of the V shape cut out all the stars as it glided over their heads. Wow.
Yeah. I think that there were potentially, this is something where I'm like, okay, like, I don't really care what the details are. I haven't fully asked or looked into if it's just specifically one her ship,
Yeah.
or if it were multiple ships that were involved. It would make sense to me that different, because so the ships are also linked to the oversoul of the captain, right? So it would make sense to me too that there were different members of the Yao that were able to like combine all of their, pods and make one giant craft, And I think also too it's important for us to kind of remember and have fun with the idea that there's also a timeline where the Phoenix Lights haven't happened yet.
Yeah. So true.
We're pursuing it from what we define as the past, but we are in the now creating it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say like, oh, that was her shit. Like, that's not how I want to play the game. That's not how we want to play the game. That's not how all of us collectively are really understanding that we get to create this together. And I think that's why she isn't being very specific with me. She isn't bringing through the exact information because it takes us away from truly understanding how physics works, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it has the ability to take many different shapes. But she is mainly functioning, from what I see, that kind of V-shaped, because that is in our mythology of us from this very specific kind of community, that we're going to recognize that as a Yael ship. But the Karen itself isn't a metal craft, but it utilizes these different like screen appearances. It also has the ability to morph itself. Bella used the analogy. We had a TV show in America, at least, called The Magic School Bus.
Yes.
The Magic School Bus was piloted by Miss Frizzle. And Miss Frizzle in the show, like, you never fully know if she's an alien or not. You're always like, where did Miss Frizzle come from? And they always kind of joke around where, like, you don't really know who Miss Frizzle is. And she has like rocket earrings, and she's like totally weird and has like these like stars and moons all over her dress. Like, she's this great, it's just a great TV show. And so the Magic School Bus is its own consciousness that's connected to Miss Frizzle, that has the ability to morph and change itself into a submarine or into a type of craft that's able to navigate through lava, or that's able to go into the far reaches of outer space. And Bella has used that analogy of the Magic School Bus with me when she first started coming through, and still maintains that the Karen is also able to shift its form for the needs of, like I said, the Yael or the kids. If they want to go and hang out with some of the cetaceans, they can use the ships to go down in there. And from what I understand too, definitely the Yael and definitely the Sasani, the ships, they can kind of bilocate themselves just through the frequency of it all. But it's just more fun. Like there's still an aspect, especially of the Yael, where, like I said, Bella's very interested in artifacts from our world. Likes to be able to have some level of physicality within their quasi-physical nature, and it's just more fun to be able to have the TARDIS. And I'm not sure if the kids, if the Shalanaya, are able to jump in and out the same way that perhaps the Shikani or the Yael can. It seems as though to me that the Shalanaya, the kids, are of such a similar vibration to us that they may need the ship to be able to get around, or need these different pods to be able to jump around. But again, it's like, like whatever, this could all change. This is just story. This is just kind of like fun idea. This is,
it all exists, which is amazing. Wow, there is so much to speak about. I have still so many questions, and I feel like we're probably going to close this for today, and I would really be honored if you would agree to come back on another day so we can continue this conversation, because there's just so much to speak about.
It'll be different then, for sure.
Wonderful, Geeta. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciated the conversation, and want to allow you to close off with a message for our viewers, any message that's coming through or encouragements in any way. And again, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you, Ashley. again, whether or not you really believe it to be this story, or if you have your own versions of the story, it truly is the message that they are bringing through to allow us to live happy and healthy and harmonious lives, and to redefine what we have thought is hard or difficult. It can be the challenge, it can be the obstacle and the reward, and it can truly, truly be the excitement to uncover and sift through these shadow aspects of ourself. And I also too want to publicly state that I am in no way officially affiliated with Bashar Communications. And if people are curious to find out more about Bashar and Daryl Anka, they can go to bashar.org. And we always give credit where credit is due in that way, and thank the mentors and the bringers of magical aid in this hero's journey.
Staying with integrity. Thank you so much, Geeta.
I will sign off with a little bit. This is something that I say at the end of my videos that I totally have just taken from Bashar. But Bashar says that it is the contact specialist motto in this way. And so it goes, our minds, my translation of it anyways, our minds may be different, our hearts. Oh, look, I messed it up. Hold on. Okay. My version of this. Okay. Our minds may be different, our bodies may be different, but it is through our hearts that we know our spirits are one.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone watching. Thank you so much for your time. And Geeta, again, it's such a pleasure to have you. I can't wait to have another conversation with you once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Me too, Ash.